Welcome to Random Conflux, where today I'm Zach.
I'm John.
And I'm Matt.
And we're going to talk about sutomation versus CGI.
Sutomation versus CGI is a big thing for me, at least, when it comes to my favorite series like Godzilla and Power Rangers. It's something where the CG, sure, it looks better, especially nowadays, okay? But there's a holdover for me because I grew up watching the sutomation. We all did. Anybody who watched Power Rangers got to see that evolve. Anybody who watched Godzilla got to see that evolve. Or Ultraman or any of the big things that came out of Japan got to see that evolve. Mm-hmm. And then it came into, back in the day, how Ray Harryhausen would use sutomation mixed with stop motion, mixed with claymation, to make the whole Dynavision happen for his, like the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, okay? You know, the Cyclops was all a model that he moved around in pieces, but towards the end of the movie, the motions were replicated with the earliest versions of mocap, okay? It's something that's heavily interested in me, and I'm glad we get to talk about it today.
Yep. Speaking of sutomation, I recently watched, the Return of the Living Dead movies.
Yeah.
I watched those for the first time, and the first Tar Man was an all sutomation puppet thing. It was cool.
Robot Chicken does claymation.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Stop motion and all that, which is awesome.
And they do a little CGI just to do the lip sync.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, they do the lip sync that way, but what they first started doing the lip, it was tiny little pieces of paper that they would swap out. And then they do that with the stop motion, and it'd make it look like they were talking. But sure, in later seasons, especially when they got the articulated fingers, because it went from being like G.I. Joe doll hands to articulated fingers. But yeah, I liked that. One of the key points that we brought this up. Now, I haven't seen it, so we won't be talking about it today. Hopefully we'll do a video about it. Is Power Rangers Once and Always, where in it, and this is no spoilers because it was seen in the trailers, the Megazord is all CG, okay?
Now,
the Megazord is CG, not the Zords. The Zords at the beginning were...
They were the toys.
The toys.
The Zap Megazord specifically.
Yeah, the Zap Megazord ones.
I thought it was Legacy.
No, it was Zap.
No, Zap. And it being CG and them using motion capture to make it and everything, that was cool and it looked crisp in the trailers. And like I said, I haven't actually seen it, so I can't wait to watch it. Yeah. They both have seen it here. And
in case you guys are wondering, I was right about the Big Bad Beetleborgs and the Knights of Tyrannog teaming up against the VR Troopers.
Totally.
Oh, yeah, sure. Big Bad Beetleborgs. Yep, you know it. Totally worried about it. Anyways...
But, awesome movie, go watch it.
Yes. If there was anything that I was concerned about, it was, were they going to update the design? And from the trailers, it looks like they minusculely updated it. And it's really cool to see good CGI in the childhood things that we love. For example, one of the things that got to see a real mixture of it, there was a movie called Shin Godzilla that came out. If you ever got a chance to go watch it, where they used large sutomation and giant puppetry mixed with CG to get the effect that you see for the monster Godzilla in the movie. The puppetry for it was a 36-foot tall puppet, which you say, oh, that sounds crazy, that sounds wild. The truth is, they were able to do things like that way back when for the original King Kong from that 1931 or 1939, whatever year it came out. His face in it, when you see him smiling, when he's supposed to be bringing the girl in his hand close to him, which that hand was enormous too, that face was a full-size face that was sitting on a tractor trailer bearings that they were, or chassis that they were able to move around the set.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. You can look up pictures of it.
Cool.
Yep.
One thing I do want to ask, and I can ask it because you've watched the trailer, you've seen the swords.
Mm-hmm.
you've seen how they're gonna do the CGI.
Okay.
Can you compare the CGI that they're doing in this movie compared to the first ever Power Rangers movie?
So Power Rangers the movie, okay, the one with Ivan Ooze.
Yeah.
Okay. So back then, CG was a new realm. There was a lot of experimentation with it, trying to figure it out, and they wanted to do all CG. And the idea of doing it with motion capture made a lot of sense because the movements of the Megazord in the Ninja Megazord from Power Rangers the movie were graceful. It looked good. The textures weren't because CG hadn't developed enough yet. Everything, was mirror surface. Okay? Mirror surface metal. Because they wanted it to look new and shiny and amazing. And it just came off all kinds of wrong. It worked for the villain creatures. It worked for the bad guys, but it did not work for the Megazord. And the Megazord's face also came across as very pushed in, and it didn't really make sense.
And honestly, even nowadays, dirty stuff looks better in CGI.
Yes, plain and simple.
Like whether it's dirty skin, whether it's dirty metal, it just looks better in CGI.
For example, now I'm not trying to get away from the topic, but to explain what he just meant there, go look up Warhammer 40k models that have been painted with weathering in grim, dark scheme. Any CGI that replicates that is going to look 10 times better than trying to replicate a brand new model that just came off the presses. Okay? Or a brand new figure or a brand new anything. If you watch a movie, like you watch Pacific Rim, okay? Even though they've got these giant robots that have just recently been made or have been in a couple battles, they've got little drips of oil, little weathering edges on the paint, scratches and scrapes because, they're big things that get moved around. You like them to look like they're realistic. They don't need to look like they're fresh off the presses.
Well, Transformers do that very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The texture takes your brain away from the fact that it's CG a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And having it too shiny in an area that can be damaged and weathered, and you're in a fight, you're going to get scuffed.
It brings in the old Uncanny Valley thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's why people were so hard to make in CG. There's that little bit of uncanniness to it, whereas
not necessarily. You can animate war damage.
Yeah.
And make it believable in CGI.
Yeah.
But that all has to do with programming, and once you create a product or a character or a model, you're more or less wanting to just use that one model. Yeah. Where in turn, if they want to have battle damage, and this is something I do with my characters myself when I'm writing my script or coming up with my concepts, is I actually make different versions of that character. Even though JJ inks it, I draw it, I come up with the clothing and how I want to texture it. Mm-hmm. And from my own experience, it's easier to understand how far is this fight progressing depicted by that battle damage. Mm-hmm. And I think having too shiny of a CGI character like the first ever Megazord really doesn't meet the criteria, but I do believe with the newest movie doing it, and I guess they learn from their old mistakes. Mm-hmm. And Sean Levy, or Levi, however you want to pronounce it, mm-hmm. He's related, I believe. I want to kind of double check that, so if anybody's listening, and just comment down below. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I do believe he's related some way or some form to Blake Levy.
Chucky Levy, you mean?
Chucky Levy, which was a co-writer, and I believe he helped with the stuff with the Megazords. I could be wrong.
No, that was the Megazords were mostly stock footage. There was occasional stuff that he filmed in America, like the Megazords falling apart, and they imported them from Japan to do that scene. But most of them were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I also know that he worked on the set with Saban, and like he worked for Saban Entertainment for like the longest time.
He was the co-producer, and he wrote half the songs for Power Rangers.
And like I said, Sean Levy, very, very good in his craft.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few things. Matter of fact, he's like one of the heads in Netflix, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's plenty of shows that he has worked on. I believe one of them is with the Duffer Brothers. You have a calendar for it.
You talk about Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I just happened to have a brain fart. And he worked on the reboot for Lost in Space.
Which one?
The
newest one that's
the
a series on
series.
Netflix? Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And
Yeah, the one before it had Joey from Friends.
Yeah. Not LeBlanc.
I know he never said it in the movie, but I just wanted him to say, "How you doing?"
And I believe because of his background, I do think like he would have learned from his beforehand's mistake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Something, if you don't mind me interjecting, something that I really like when it comes to sutomation versus CGI. I appreciate how they use nowadays mocap to really capture things and make everything look smooth and streamlined.
It's like an evolution of sutomation.
It's still sutomation because there's still somebody in a suit moving, and sure, it may be
Like Colossus.
Yeah, exactly. It may be a digital thing, like, oh, you're taking the actor out of the suit. There's still a person moving to capture all that.
Yeah.
Okay? You want to look up good mocap, you look up anything that they do for Mortal Kombat. Okay? And I'm not talking like the movies, I'm talking the video games. Mortal Kombat 11, you look up the making of that, that's some excellent mocap.
Yeah,
right
the
there.
behind the scenes stuff for that
Yeah.
game. Behind the scenes for most every wrestling game. Even UFC fighting games use mocap.
Even the Tony Hawk games use mocap.
Yes.
Well, going back to Mortal Kombat, and starting in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and they had it clear up to, and they had him back in Armageddon. As a joke character, they had the guy in the mocap suit.
Yes. Yes. He was literally called mocap.
Yeah.
Didn't they put that in just for like a gag?
Yeah.
Well, it's the reason why is because Mortal Kombat was one of the first video games to pioneer mocap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The very original Mortal Kombat was technically mocap. It was stop motion because they took pictures of the characters and they turned it into sprites.
You mean
Yes.
the one on Super Nintendo?
And Sega Genesis.
Yeah, they videotaped the people doing the moves, and then they used the video footage for the sprites.
And it was literally just images to images to images sped up, and it made it look like... those weren't drawn. That was people actually.
Yeah.
And they just edited it. And Goro was a stop-motion figure.
Yeah, he was a puppet.
That's not digital sprites. That's images from real world.
So that wasn't drawn sprites.
No.
None of them were drawn.
Wow.
You can literally look it up. I'm not even joking.
Wow.
Yes.
I am amazed.
Yes.
Yeah, and the if you have the Deadly Alliance all the way up to Armageddon, the background things, they talk about the older games and how they made all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool.
Well, a lot of games prefer not to talk about that kind of stuff because they don't want to break the fourth wall. They don't want to break the illusion.
Oh, Ed Boon loved talking about that stuff in a lot of documentaries.
Yeah, don't worry about Mortal Kombat. They'll talk your head off about how they did something.
Yeah. And like I said, literally in all those old games, they tell you how they made like the older games, so it was cool.
Yep.
But I do think that games, movies, whatever, that actually go into detail, like behind the scenes, if they do like a DVD or like a collection pack, and he keeps looking over at the computer, wondering.
I'm not looking at the time.
We have.
I actually can't see the time. I was just seeing if we were leveled and stuff.
Yeah,
I can't even read the time
it's
from
still
here.
recording us pretty well.
Yeah,
it seems to be doing well.
But what I was saying is that, like, you can charge a little extra just for some behind the scenes narration or like show and tell on how some parts of the movie is made, and heck, people will eat it up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love seeing the behind the scenes stuff on how things are.
Agreed.
AI has it with
Haley Joel
Osment. I believe Deadpool has it.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Reynolds wanted to do that for Green Lantern, but I believe Warner Brothers kind of shut him down for it.
One of the other things that I'm really interested to see, and I mean this is still sticking on sutomation to CG, even though I'm falling back into Godzilla. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. You'll learn that eventually, folks. And I can't wait to see their next universe, because Godzilla, originally back in the 50s, came up with the idea of a connected movie universe. The first 17 movies in the Godzilla franchise between 1954 and 1976, I think, or 75, were all one connected universe called the Showa universe. And then later on, Marvel and other things like that, they ended up playing off of that and doing their own connected universe. Well, Toho Co-Limited later this year is doing a movie called Godzilla Zero. It's coming out this fall, okay? And we don't know anything about it other than a little teaser poster with a stylized G painted on it, kind of like calligraphy, okay? And I wonder if they're going to try to keep some form of sutomation, or if they're going to go, well, look at what Legendary Pictures did with all CG. I mean, yes, there was mocap for every single monster. Godzilla, King Ghidorah, all of them. There was mocap for them. For God's sakes, King Ghidorah was 3 actors holding each other's arms over their arms, so their heads would make the movements of the heads, and they'd have little dots all over their faces so the mocap could capture them moving. I just wonder if they're going to go, okay, let's go ahead and jump forward, or if they're going to try to stick to their laurels and go, we have to keep some form of sutomation alive. I don't know what they're going to do, because what they did with Shin Ultraman, which literally just is just coming out in Japan or just came out in Japan, I can't remember. As I understand it, he was all CG. Like, all CG. Yeah, they did a mocap, but he was all CG. The monsters were a mixture of suit and CG, but they were mostly CG, and that's just such a departure for Toho to do. So I'm very curious later this year to see what they're going to do. If they're going to jump the way of Legendary Pictures and go mocap and full CG, or if they're going to go, we need to keep some puppetry and sutomation in this, and then mix in as much CG where we can afford to.
Well, another thing is, like, a lot of movies, magic happens because of CG. Mm-hmm. Especially, like, the backgrounds and how they do, like, night and day, and, like, being on distant planets or looking into the stars or whatever. Like, that's all, like, a green screen.
Yeah.
And most of the actors are looking at either a blue screen or a green screen,
mm-hmm.
and, like, pretending that they see something out in the void, yep. And just so we get that generalization, like, they have to be able to feel it, not just read it from a script.
Yeah, like, for example, when the actors in the Avengers movies are talking to the Hulk or to Thanos, it's either the actor that's playing Thanos or the Hulk standing up on a rig so that they're the correct height, or it's somebody holding just a long pole with a picture that looks like Hulk or Thanos' face that high, and they're talking up to it. That's all it is.
Or one of the ways that they do it, and this is the way that they Ryan Reynolds did it with Colossus. He actually tried to find the biggest guy he could, and he wasn't big enough. So instead of putting him on stilts, he put like a helmet on him with a stick and a ball on top. And the ball was your point of view
where
for
you
the
looked
middle
at,
of his face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
But when they captured his lips movement,
it was from
that was the actor.
The mocap with the little dots and everything.
Yeah. So there were like 3 different people to play Colossus. There was the guy in the suit, the guy to do the facial recognition, and then the guy that actually played his voice.
Yes.
So that's really weird. And then another form of puppetry, the bear in AI is a really good puppet. If you hear beeping, that's my brother's blood thing, so...
I'm a diabetic. My meter's beeping in my pocket for some reason.
Yeah. But...
the bear in AI.
The movie Ted... It has a portion of, I believe, puppetmation.
That whole...
and CG to an extent.
That is almost entirely CG. They did have a puppet for scenes where it was just sitting. But I believe it was like 95% CG, wasn't it?
I thought it was mostly CG, but there is a actual Ted puppet that they used on set that they brought on one of the late night shows. I just don't remember which show it was. It has a little bit of animatronics and stuff in it, but Ted was mostly CG.
And I don't know how many people watch The Mandalorian, but a lot of that is puppetmation and CGI.
Yep.
And matter of fact, the newest season is mostly now Baby Groot. If he's not in the walker or bassinet or
the floating thing,
yeah, or even now in the robot. When he's out actually running around, there's nobody that small. So they actually use full CGI for him.
They'd have to have a smart toddler running around to do it. And that'd be torture on this.
Do me a favor, don't say anything else, because I'm on the 3rd episode of 3rd season. And I don't know what you mean by in the robot, so please don't say anything else.
Okay,
I can take a good guess, but I don't want to say it. So
he gains the power of the Beetleborgs.
Yeah, totally.
Yes, of course.
Hasbro, bring back Beetleborgs, dang it.
Beetlebanger, Beetle Blast.
Yes.
Bring back Animorphs while you're at
it.
it.
You see Grogu cracking his fingers? There we go.
Yeah.
Grogu turns into Joe.
Bring back Animorphs while you're at it, too.
Oh, God. Please, Animorphs. That would be awesome.
Well, funniest thing is...
They're working on a movie.
Joe and Drew have my last name.
I know, that's funny.
So I'm part of the Beetleborgs. Not really.
But yes, so this has been our talk about sutomation versus CGI. We greatly appreciate what's your input on it. Do you feel that sutomation's falling away and CGI is fully taking over? Do you feel sutomation has a place nowadays in what we're doing? Is mocap the way of the future? Please tell us in the comments below.
Well, we still got just a little bit of time left. If you want to... I'm just saying, actually, we got some time left. If you want to just finish off, like, anything else you may know about CGI or, like, puppetmation or sutomation, would you want to talk more about it, or do you want to let that into a new topic down the road?
So part of Random Conflux is us doing shit on the fly, excuse my language, and this is kind of what we're talking about here. So if I sat here and talked about everything I knew about sutomation, A, we'd be talking about Godzilla for days, okay, and B, it would be about Godzilla, and C, it would also be about Godzilla, but I mentioned Godzilla because Screonk! Okay, so anyways, but here's the thing. Something that might interest you, okay? There's a book called The Official Godzilla Compendium. It was released back in the 90s, before the TriStar Godzilla movie, okay? And it dealt with everything up to the 1995 movie Godzilla vs. Destroyer. In it, there is a very cool article, okay? And I don't know if you can find the book on, like, Amazon, like, to digitally look at it. I have no idea. It costs an arm and a leg if you're trying to get one off of eBay. Maybe your local library might have a copy. I don't know. Good luck. But there is an article on it. It's a one-page article called Inside Godzilla. And it talks about actors and what they have to go through while they're inside those suits. Those suits weigh hundreds of pounds. They're made of rubber, latex, foam, articulation, things like that. The tails are supported by wires from above, or wires that are also connected to the backs of the suits. The suits, to get in them, they have to be zippered and buttoned in. There has to be little fans put in there, water fed through. They see through tiny holes in the neck. I mean, it's very difficult. There have been actors that have nearly lost their lives, been knocked unconscious, had explosions happen way too close to them on set. Suits have caught on fire, and they've kept it in the movie. The original movie, which was Godzilla versus the Thing, which is the first time that Mothra ever showed up, because the American title was Godzilla versus the Thing, but it was Godzilla versus Mothra. Okay? There's a point where Godzilla's walking through this field, breaking through these electrical wires, and he's being hit by tons of tank fire, and one of the explosions go off, and the whole back where his spine is and the side of his suit catches on fire, and they kept it in the movie, but in real life, they had to rush. As soon as they caught the scene, they cut the camera, and they had to rush to put the suit out because the suit was starting to melt right where the zipper fold was. Yeah. Wow. So it's dangerous to be in those suits. You can get knocked out. There was a scene in I don't know if it was the same movie or a different movie, but Godzilla was destroying a castle, I believe in Osaka, like an old Chinese or Japanese palace. Okay, and he was destroying a castle, and the actor slipped and fell and slammed into the castle. Now everybody watching was like, "Oh, well, that looked really cool." Inside, the actor TKO. Okay, and he's stumbling as he's blacking out in blurred vision, and it looks like Godzilla just slipped and took out a castle. No, that actor had no clue what was going on at that time. He said he was seeing blackened stars. That's all he was seeing.
And wasn't that an accident in the first place?
Yes, it was an accident. He was supposed to stand there and tear the castle up. They just thought that he improvised with the slip. No, he slipped. Okay, and there's other stories, but needless to say, it's a great article if you can find it. Check it out. Something else, too, since we're talking about sutomation, so I'm trying to take up some more time. Okay. The actors themselves, whenever you go to see the Megazords, okay, or in Power Rangers, the enemies, the monsters, Godzilla, whenever you go to see them move on screen, okay, it's been slowed down. That's why Godzilla seems to have this slow Titanic presence when he moves in the older movies. In real life, that actor who only weighs $150 and is wearing a 200-pound suit is actually running across the stage, rushing as fast as they can, smashing through buildings, and then they slow the frame rate down to make it seem big and impulsive and scary. Okay? And the Megazords are no different. Now, they do move faster than, say, Godzilla does. Yeah. The Megazords do. But it's still been slowed down by almost 50%. In real life, they're going whip, fast. Okay? And then they slow it down to give the impression of size. Which I think is awesome.
One thing I wanted to add is I actually when I was going to high school, I was friends with the... what are they called? Mascots. Mm-hmm. I was going to call them mascots. Yeah, that's the word. And my locker was right next to his. Maybe, like, anybody that went to school knows what a locker looks like. Kind of like a couple locker doors down. And I would say there was 2 lockers in between mine and his. And this was right after an assembly. I mentioned it on a previous episode. And he went to take off the helmet for the mascot head. And I literally, from this distance between me and you, Matt, I could feel the steam coming from that suit.
How hot it was.
And they don't have fans in those mascots.
No, they typically don't.
They've added fans in the newer sutomation suits, but that's the newer ones. I don't think they had them back then.
Exactly. In the mascot suits, like for instance, it was, I want to say 6 years I was at school, okay, between middle school and high school. that the mascot for my high school, which I'm not going to say on here, they didn't have a fan or anything. What they did is they'd run over, have one of those little spritz fans from the 90s, hit them with it every now and then from under the chin, give them a sip of water, and send them off and let them go. The year I graduated, the mascot thing got 2 of those little fans were like mounted inside so they could be aimed at either side. But that was the year I graduated, so all those years we watched as the mascot had to go through heck just to have that done, you know?
Those poor guys go through hell in a handbag.
And the mascot suit's not even as heavy as the sutomation suits. Like, they're heavy, don't get me wrong, but yeah.
Exactly.
But, speaking of which, we're gonna wrap up here. We may talk about this topic a little bit more in detail in a few future episodes. I'm becoming tongue-tied for a second.
Right, and hopefully the next time that you guys hear from me, because I know I'm not always in every video, but stuff happens, I have a family, so on and so forth, hopefully we'll be doing a review of Power Rangers Once and Always. I hope you guys and girls listening, everybody else in between, go get a chance to go watch it and check it out and get your opinions on it.
Yeah, because the next time we'll be talking about our opinion from like what we've seen and just some understanding about the craft and how certain things are done. And
it'll be spoiler filled. We'll explain that we're going to do spoilers beforehand. We'll give spoiler warnings.
Because you can't really do a rating episode without actually watching the show.
You can do a non-spoiler review, but that's 5 minutes compared to a 30-minute talk that is spoiler filled.
Yeah, my quick opinion, go watch it. It's awesome. We'll do a more in-depth review later.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Not sponsored.
So, those that work at Netflix, if you want to sponsor us, we can talk more about a deal here. So, yeah, let's go with that. And I've been Zach.
I'm John.
And I'm Matt.
And this has been Random Conflux. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Random Conflux.
I thought I said the other thing.
Nope, you're good. You said it.
So, say goodbye, Vegeta.
Why do you keep telling me to say goodbye? You tied me up in here.
Vegeta!
What? What? No! I don't even know how we got here. What the heck?